was thinking about how so many of the things, isn't it interesting? Like so many things that we want in life generally seem to come from being conditioned to want those things.
Mm,
Have you ever thought about that? Where
yeah.
it's like college, for
Hmm.
example, right? It's like college is something that, a lot of times you're brought up like in school, they condition you to like, yeah, once you're done here, you go to college, or your parents like, yeah, you're going to
Hmm.
go to college after you're done with school, right? Or you're
Hmm.
done with high school. And other things too. It's like, oh yeah, you go, you like the progression is like you meet somebody, you get married, you have kids, right? It's like it's like these things that we generally want in life. How much of it do we actually want, and how much of it is it that we are just conditioned by our family, our friends, our teachers to want these things? And then after a while, it's almost like it gets dropped in, a seed gets dropped in your mind, and it grows, and then it gets to the point where you just do these things that you're
Yeah.
supposed to do, right?
Yeah. It's interesting. It's like, and then like, I don't know if you've done this too, but like, then I'll have conversations with myself in those scenarios where like, do I actually want this? Or is it
Yeah.
because I'm conditioned to want this? Is it because it's like the thing that I'm supposed to want, Like
Yeah.
even as much as like right when you brought this up, immediately I was thinking about like buying a house, buying a car, like doing all these things, like accumulating, I guess, these kind of milestones in life that are kind of pushed upon us from when we're young, and it's just like, this is the way it's supposed to go. And like you said, from the college thing, and I'm just like, yeah, I don't know how much of that is actually want versus like kind of just ingrained into us, and we're just like, "Oh, I guess this is what it is, you know.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah. And it's like I was thinking about it in terms of health and fitness too, because it's like it kind of is linked to the comparison thing a little bit
Oh
almost,
yeah.
right? Where it's like we kind of compare ourselves, and like there's certain milestones that are supposed to happen in life, but and I wrote down this question as well. It's like, how do you break free, right? How do you
Mm.
start to break free from that and figure out what you actually want? Because I think that's
Hmm.
a question that people struggle with where, okay, you got the awareness to figure out, oh, wait, maybe I don't, to question some of your things that you're going after, or to
Hmm.
question, because it's like you go for the longest time, you go to like Thanksgiving with all the family and they're like, Alex, why don't you have, why haven't you brought back a wife yet? Or like
Yeah,
you just
yeah.
like, you kind of you go and it's like, oh, well, I'm doing that. I got different things that are a focus right now. And then, eventually it's like the timing works out and it's like, this is what I want to do. And I feel good in a good place. And then
Hmm.
you go at that. Right. But so many people, I think, feel pressured to get into a relationship, right? Or they feel
Hmm.
pressured to find a husband or a wife. And then at that point, like then their parents start saying, oh, well, when are you going to give me a grandchild?
Yeah, when are
Like
kids
then
coming?
they
Yeah.
start to feel pressure. It's like, oh, well, this is the next thing in line.
Yeah.
It's interesting, and that's something I thought about a little bit this last weekend or so. Marissa and I were chatting about it a bit, just how
Yeah.
like, oh, it's interesting how so many of the things that goals that people have, right, are
Hmm.
because other people have those goals, or people
Yep.
tell you that's what you should go at, and it's like we can live our own life. And it's interesting to me, this is kind of getting deep, but it's interesting to me how like so many folks like just kind of play it safe, right? It's like
Hmm.
you have one life, but yet we like play scared. Like I've done this at times. I'm sure you've probably done this too, where it's like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
not gonna enjoy what I'm doing, or like I'm just gonna get a desk job and just kind of just live and not really go out and do things that I want to do, and just you start to get into that rat race and the
Hmm.
Groundhog Day. Like every day starts to seem like it's the same over and over and over and over and over again until you snap out of it, and then
It,
you kind of I don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about
it's
anymore.
kind of, well, dude, it's kind of scary when you think about it. And like, so you were asking earlier, like, how do you snap out of it? And I was thinking, like, well, what? Um, I think the older I've got, the more I've snapped out of it. I think, I think I've kind of learned to look at things for face value versus them coming from a certain person or influence in my life, and just going, well, what do I think about this? Like, like I look back at like college, for example. If I wasn't playing a sport, I wouldn't have went to college. Like I don't know, just no interest. Like I hated school. Like I didn't want to go to school. Like baseball kept me there. And then I figured out like, oh, okay, well I could like, you can at least, instead of being forced to learn about certain, topics or whatever, like I could actually learn something that I enjoy learning about. Like then I started getting introduced to the body and biomechanics and how the body moves and how it functions and in relationship to nutrition and exercise. And I was like, oh, this stuff's cool. Like, so that made a huge difference for me. But like leading up to that, the whole other, I don't know, 12, 13, 14, however many years, like, it's like, dude, what the fuck is this? Like,
Yeah.
and I was just like, we're basically doing the same thing that adults do, but we're not getting paid to do it yet. They're just grooming us for it. It's like, show up at this time, leave at this time. We got lunch at this time in the middle of the day. Like, oh, and then you'll get a little break here and there. It's like, you better hurry up to the next class or you're going to be late. Like you're going to be tardy. It was just very just like, and of course I followed the rules. It was like, oh, that's what we're just supposed to do. And then it wasn't until later I looked back and was like, dang, dude, like we're just being groomed from the jump, like to follow a certain way, a certain thing. And so
Yeah.
I'd be lying if I said I don't, in some scenarios, I feel like I'm free from it, but then I also start to get sucked back into it too, so it's like this
Yeah.
kind of like ebb and flow, like in and out, and like, oh, cool, I broke free from it. And then I'll have doubts or like insecurities and go, oh, maybe they're right. Maybe I should go back to it. It's the safer route, right? Like, or it's the tried and true route. And so you kind of just, I feel myself having this tug of war game sometimes with it. But yeah, it's interesting, man. It's a cool topic that you brought up.
Yeah. When it's linked to so many different things, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
that. I was the
Mm-hmm.
same way. Like I didn't even think about really what I wanted to go for. I just I ended up going for like engineering initially, and that was because it's a high paying job, and you know what I mean. Like
Right.
and it utilizes math, and I was good at math. And then eventually, I did what my dad went for, right? And so it's like you just kind of you follow in the footsteps, and I figured out I didn't really want to do that stuff. I didn't want
Yeah.
to. Eventually, I was going for that, and I was like, I don't really have any interest in doing
Mm-hmm.
what I'm going for here. But I mean, there's a lot of different ways I could have gone about it. But then it's like you said, you're groomed and you follow the rules, and like you get in trouble if you don't follow the rules,
Right.
and you that can lead to something that I've struggled with at times, which is like people please, like not wanting to disappoint people, and like
Yeah.
and that goes down a different rabbit hole of
Sure.
it's like we do things and we kind of like we don't do certain things because we like assume it's gonna hurt not necessarily hurt other people but make people disappointed or
Mm.
you kind of play it safe again, right?
Yep.
You don't do things or we're just like worried about what people are going to think of us, right? It's like, oh well, if I do this or if I really go out there and like do what I really want to do, then oh, what are they gonna say about me
Yeah.
behind closed doors?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's like, oh well, Alex
Those are-
Ramosi talks about this a lot too, where
Yeah.
he talks about how it's like in 100 years, like nobody's really gonna
Yeah.
necessarily remember most
Mhm.
people, right? There's some people that have like a very big legacy and they're in textbooks and stuff like that. But for the most people, even like somebody who runs a huge business, for example, in like 100 years, like nobody's really
Yeah.
talking about them anymore. Like, maybe they get brought up in conversation from their kids that are still around or their grandkids. Oh, your grandpa was awesome. Like he was he really did a lot of things and
Mhm.
he made a huge impact in the world or whatever. But the regular folks out there that maybe make a great living, but just like they're just a regular family man, or they got kids and a wife, and it's like you die, and then nobody really people are like sad for a little while, and then maybe they remember you, and they're still like 10 years later they're still thinking about you at times, or you come up in conversation. But then like people grow old and they have
Yeah.
like their lives change, and eventually you just kind of cease to even exist, which is even more of a reason to just not give a fuck about what
Yeah.
people think,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah. Yeah.
not really care about like what the norms are, what, you think you're supposed to do in life,
Mm-hmm.
just figure out what you want to do, which comes from a lot of trial and error. It's kind of like what you talked about with school, where you kind of just figured out things that you liked
Mm-hmm.
through like going and trying different things and being in the gym and working out. It's like, oh wow, I can like make a career out of this, right? This could be a
Yeah,
potential
I kind of got,
career.
dude. Yeah, it's crazy. I got lucky with that. Like, I remember meeting with the athletic director or the counselor, and we were looking at different credits and stuff, and they were asking me what I wanted to do. I was like, I don't know, business maybe. That was like the safe answer, the common answer. I was like, I don't know, business. And then I was like, I'd ask my teammates, and then like what they were doing, and then I remember the athletic director being like, well, if you don't know what you want, like the two ones that we kind of shuffle the athletes into are, one was like general arts or whatever it was called. This is something super general, right? Like, it was basically like, here, you can get a bachelor's degree in this, but it's very you basically don't know what you're doing, so it's generalized. It wasn't specific to anything, but it had like a fancy name to it. But it was basically like, you don't know what the hell you're doing, like you haven't decided, like just do this one. And then the other one was kinesiology. Another one was like, a lot of, you're gonna find like some interesting things in there. It's a very popular one for the athletes, so that was another one. And then I just picked the one that basically I knew my other teammates were into, so we could have classes together. So I was like,
Yeah.
okay, so we'll just do that. It'll be easy. We'll be able to go to class together. We'll at least have a handful together. It'll be easy for traveling or homework or when we have to leave and, do stuff like that. So I just kind of got lucky and got into it. And then I was like, oh man, this is actually pretty interesting. And then I started diving more into it, but I kind of got lucky on that one in terms of it aligning with something that I'm actually interested in. I feel like 9 times out of 10 people are not, or they do something that, they know somebody that did, or their parents told them to, or like they kind of just make decisions based off that versus like what they truly want. I think I got lucky because I just picked whatever the counselor said, and then out of the two options, and I just picked the one my friends were in, and I happened to like it, and I was like, oh, okay, like I
Yeah.
got super lucky. I don't think it really works out like that, but um, yeah, it's interesting. I was thinking when you were talking, what's something, when we talk about like the traditional way, or things that may have been like solidified or pushed upon us in a certain way. What do you feel like, if you could go back and change something, or tweak something or make it different, is there anything that you would change to go back to where maybe isn't so like not your idea or thought, it's more like pushed upon you, and like it's more tradition, this is the way things are done? And would you go back and change anything in terms of like how things are run or structured nowadays, or if
Um,
it was different back then?
I don't know, man. I think I don't know, everything's kind of brought me to where I am today. And, I feel like some people are good about just going away from against the grain from the get go,
Yeah.
whatever it is. Um, but it's almost like with age, it's like you see like old people, a lot of times they'll just, throw around in locker rooms, they're throwing it around, right? They're
Oh,
just,
yeah.
they're just like, they're not, no fucks,
Yeah, dude. They give
and you see
none.
like that in a lot of different things. So I think it's something that you kind of break free of as you age, like not caring
Mhm.
about what people think, not caring about doing things a certain way. I I think knowing that where I am right now, and like that there's a lot of things that maybe at certain points in my journey I would have wanted to change, where it's like, that's not, you're in like a not a great spot. But knowing where I am today and like how my life looks, I wouldn't change anything, just because I know that all of it has worked out the way it's supposed to bring me to this point.
Mhm.
But one thing I've thought about in the past is like, God, it's, baseball, because baseball, like that's the reason why I went, I would have went to college anyway. Like that was like what was expected. Right. And it
Mhm.
was, but also I didn't really know what I wanted to do.
Mhm.
Right. I wanted to play baseball. That's what I was like. I want to try to get to the league. Right.
Same.
It's like that,
Yeah.
that was what I was trying to do. And so that was my focus.
Mhm.
It wasn't, I got pretty good grades in class, but like was not focused on school. I
Yeah.
was focused on baseball, and I
Yeah.
was, especially the last few years when it like became a reality. It's like, oh, you can get to the next level. It was like, I'm just getting by in school. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to make sure that I got good enough grades to to play, and I'm putting all my effort into this sport to try to get drafted.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so that 4 years, like now it's like all of that stuff that made me the person that I am. And, I have used things from my degree. I've been in areas that were related to it. Not a lot, but it's like that would be the one that's like, oh, I think a lot of times people just you don't really use your degree. I think there's such a small percentage of people that do. And sports is a reason to go, right? It's like you have to go to school, really.
Yeah.
If you're like trying to get to the next level, it's like that's a part of it for the most part. But I think it's cool that it's becoming more normal to not necessarily go to
Mm-hmm.
school. 'Cause people will jobs and companies are more inclined to find like a person, right? And they're like, because they're gonna every job you get for the most part, except for if it's like a lawyer or like a doctor or like engineer, like certain things, like you have to go to school and like
Mm-hmm.
you're directly using the stuff that you learned right away off the bat.
Yeah.
But there's most jobs like you get a degree and then you go to the job and you're going to have to get trained in for a while on
Yeah.
how to do that job. Like you didn't learn how to do that job in school.
Right.
Business is a vague thing. Like you're learning a lot of different areas, but you're getting a job where you're going to have to get trained in on whatever the heck you're doing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so do you have to go to 4 years or 5 years of school to do that? Probably not. But also
Right.
there's the narrative. Sorry, I'm just like going off on
Yeah.
tangents.
Go for it.
What I'm talking, like what I'm even fully talking about. But there's like something to be said about that. Those years from 18 to 22, where a lot of people kind of need those years to like mature. And so there's something to be said there, but you could also do other things and not spend the $120,000 and be stuck in debt for a long time
Right.
or forever. Right.
Yeah.
If you did that. So, but I don't know, this is kind of getting long. What do you have? What do you have as far as like wrapping this one up? Anything?
Yeah, man. I think it's an interesting perspective. It for sure makes me think. I mean, it's something that I always think about, anyways. But like, I feel like it's something that'll naturally happen as we progress and get older. As you open your eyes and mind to different ways of doing things and other opportunities versus the ones that were traditionally like presented to us, I guess, on the way coming up. So yeah, I kind of wish if I were to go back and change one thing, if and I don't know how we would go about doing it, but I wish it was less like memorization, take this test, pass, fail, like kind of thing. I wish it was more like if you could, if there was a way that they were able to test your unique creativity or what you were really good at, and then they provided opportunity for you for in that avenue, like whatever it is, it could be anything, right? Versus being like there's these, I don't know, 6, 7, 10, 12, however many subjects there are, and then they force everybody into those, and it's like, well, that's cool, but like once you get past those basics, then it should just be like, okay, what does somebody excel at? Because everybody's going to be naturally good at something. Like figure that out for each individual, and then like provide a platform for them to scale it to the moon for that thing that they're exceptional at. Like I think that would be cool versus being like, hey, force people to take this, memorize this stuff that nobody cares about, and then we're going to test you on it, and then that'll determine your grade on how well you can memorize it. It's like, what the hell? Like I don't know, that just didn't make sense to me, but like I get it. Like they have to create a structure, they have to create a some sort of format, right? And I guess I hope that evolves and changes over time to allow people to really double down on their strengths and be like, damn, so and so's like phenomenal at this, like let's give them opportunity to be somebody, to be a leader in it, to be like, to take it to the moon with it. So like that's what I wish was a little bit different. But
Yeah.
who knows, man? Hopefully, yeah, that's all I have to wrap it up, man. And absolutely no regrets, like you're saying, at all. We're in the position we're in now because of all the stuff we went through, right? So
Yeah.
there's definitely no regrets. I just wish there was something a little bit slightly changed in terms of shift and perspective and opportunities for people early on, versus forcing people in a box. That's the only thing.
That's a good point, really, where there's you have to do things that you hate, which is you're going to have to do things you hate anyway. But
Mhm.
how can you allow people to really go at, because do you really need to know history? Right?
That's
Like,
what I'm saying, dude.
you know, it's
Yeah.
like, do you really need to know like some of this stuff that we do? No. Like, it's good to be well rounded, right? But you can figure out pretty quickly. You can be like, oh, you know, like maybe this person loves doing this, like you said, or they're really good at it and they want to like explore different options, and like there could be like like extra classes that they could take, or their schedule is more geared towards these areas that they enjoy and they love, and then maybe they love school a little bit more and they're like, and they're a little bit more psyched to go, and
Yeah.
that encourages them to really find a job that they love
Hmm.
early, right? Like it's like you could almost facilitate some of this stuff to allow kids to figure out their passions a little bit quicker, as
Exactly.
opposed to just hating school and you know just not getting a lot out of it. So I love that. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Kind of, you know, all over the map a little bit. My brain's a little bit mush today, so I don't 100% know what I'm talking about. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. I thought it was fun. If you did, make sure that you subscribe and follow so you don't miss any of the future episodes. But other than that, appreciate you guys watching and listening every week. Hope you have a great rest of the day. We'll be talking to you soon.